Q1, I was able to sort of divide my day into two, and I just figured out my peak times and worked according to those. And a lot of times, in fact, I think afternoons I really do not do any work, and late evenings sometimes sometimes I still work till like midnight. However, like in Q1, I didn't really do all of those things. I also got to start reading books. The last time I read any, book aside from academic book was probably sometimes in primary school. But in Q1, I picked up two books and I read. Right, so yeah, and I got time to like really do other things aside from work. So yeah, I think that's my win in Q1. For losses, I don't know. Did I have one? Okay, maybe for losses, maybe I didn't take off everything I wanted to achieve in Q1. Yeah, but I also like started new things that I did not plan. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Jagede. Thank you for sharing. I think you actually had quite a full Q1. And yes, sometimes it's not exactly losses, it's just the fact that you didn't get to, tick all of those boxes. But I think from what I heard, it seems like they had quite a full one and it was quite productive for you. I love you for you. Thank you. Can we have like two more people? Abims, I'd like to hear from you. How was Q1 for you? Then we'll have Otutu Abasi. So it's not be like I'm doing gender, bias. We can hear from Mesama. So yeah. So Abims, I'd like to hear from you in 2 minutes. Let's know how was your Q1.
Okay, I think Q1 has been good for me. Mostly, I get most of my goals ticked off, but it's more. I did it more efficiently compared to the way it used to be before. Like I've kind of find a way to not be stressed out about it now. So just and I sleep more now compared to sleeping 3 hours a day that I used to do before. Yeah, so that's a win for me. Yeah, my health is much better now. Yeah.
I love you for you. Thank you for sharing. So my dad always emphasizes that you should always sleep like 8 hours a day. And it's more productive, helps you be more productive at work, it helps you do better, and just helps your brain be sharper. So I really love you for it. Because in this adulthood era, where adults and sleeping enough is quite hard. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, Otuja Basi, I'd like to hear from you. And then we'll have Mesama and then we can start.
Okay, so I'll say my Q1 was a very good one for me in terms of like work wise. The progress I made in terms of my work tasks had actually gotten much better at it when I think about like Q1 last year from where I was then to where I am now. The Q1 of this year was much better. Then on a personal level, I had to make a lot of like lifestyle and habit changes. I think I also did the Access Bank 10K, completed that too. It was one of the things I wanted to do that during the quarter. So yeah, a lot of good things. Thing you say in terms of like losses would probably just be like things I wasn't able to complete that I've now had to shift towards Q2.
Nice, nice, nice. I love you for you. I mean, there's really, except you have like a really strict deadline, having to move some things to Q2, it's not always that bad. So yeah, I mean, you made some progress in Q1. Progress is progress, whether 100%, 50%, 30%. Yeah, I love you for you. Thank you for sharing. I think Mesoma is shy to speak. So she dropped hers in the chat. She said Q1, I was applying myself every day, every way I could, relentlessly, but not without pausing to breathe and access what was working and what was not. I had set out to observe my red flags work-wise, and I started adjusting them. I did not complete my goals. Oh. They needed to be adjusted after the first quarter, and I have done it. So yeah, Q2 move again smarter. I love you for you. I love that you were able. I mean, that's the point of reflecting, right? To be able to understand that okay, in Q1, certain of my strategies was not exactly the way it should have been, and it didn't help me achieve XYZ goals, and now it's time to do better, right? I mean, it's all about improvement. It's always you against you, not you against anybody else. It's how do I do better at this Q2? How do I improve and be better? So yeah, why are we hosting this session today? I think for most people that read books or read self-help books, they most likely have seen this comment, or they've just even seen it online, right? Because James Clear is a very, popular writer, and he has his favorite quote, and he has, profound quotes that I really like. He says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals; you fall to the level of systems." And this quote speaks to how we can have, the most ambitious goals, right, in life, in our career, for our business, as an entrepreneur, whatever you are, you can have, really, really beautiful goals in every area of your life. But if you don't have the right systems to achieve those goals, you will not be able to achieve them. So it's like you do not rise to the level of your goals. You feel like, oh, because I have these goals, I'm going to achieve it. You fall to the level of systems. Your systems determines, your landing and how you're able to effectively achieve those goals. And that's why we're hosting this session. And the goal is to help you understand why your execution breaks down. After you like now at the start of the year, you have a lot of, you buy nation templates, you you're getting ready, you have this document here, you have this strategy here, you have different strategies everywhere, or just one place. You're like, okay, you get a journal, you have a to-do list, you have, oh, I'm using this tool to keep track of my progress, you have to-do list, all of that. But then it's like as time progresses, it's like, why is this execution not working out, right? So this session will help you understand why execution breaks down. It will help you have more clarity on your direction for Q2. And if you have some clarity already, it's going to help you have more clarity. It will also be able to help you clearly define the goals that you want to achieve in Q2. Because sometimes we fit so many goals into a particular time frame, and it's not always like that. So when we now start, executing them, we start seeing that, oh, this goal actually needs more time than I thought it would take, right? Because you start seeing the depth of the amount of work that is actually required. And then you get to understand what has been holding you back. You learn how to build better systems, be confident in your ability to achieve your goals. Because I mean, once you have better systems and know that, okay, this is a fail-proof system based off of what you're getting from an expert like our speaker this evening, Rachel Onoja, you have better confidence, to achieve your goals despite however Q1 was for you. I'm glad that a lot of people that shared this evening, almost everyone, had really beautiful things to say as regards their progress for Q1. And then you know how to approach execution differently and move from intention to action. So now meet our speaker. Our speaker is Rachel Onoja. Drum rolls, please. Use your emojis. I want your emojis and a clap here in the chat, reactions. Just keep it going. Rachel Onoja is the founder of Balance Unleashed and a strategist focused on building sustainable pathways for career and leadership growth. With over a decade of experience across workforce development, global market expansion, and capital strategy, she has supported organizations like Also Africa, Decathlon, and Andela. Keep it going, keep it going. Managing multi-million dollar portfolios and impacting over 500,000 learners across Africa and North America. She founded Balance Unleashed, which is a career and workplace wellness platform supporting ambitious professionals and entrepreneurs to improve clarity, energy, and sustainable high performance without burnout. Through career coaching, workplace wellness programs, leadership retreats, and curated learning experiences, the Balance Unleashed community or platform strengthens mental well-being, expands leadership capacity, and supports long-term growth. Our work at Balance Unleashed sits at the intersection of talent performance development, mental wellness, leadership performance, and purpose-driven work. The goal is just to help individuals and organizations create healthier and more effective ways to work and thrive. So this is where I hand it over to Rachel. Rachel, welcome. Welcome. Keep it up for Rachel.
Thank you, thank you. Hi, everyone.
I have stopped sharing my screen so you can share us and give us all the value for tonight. How are you?
Hey, everyone. I hope we're all good. So my network has been spotty today. So for the sake of bandwidth, please permit me to keep my video off. But for those of you who have never seen my face, this is it. Hi. Okay. I will be sharing my screen now. First, thank you so much, Success, for the intro. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining this call. It's really great to have you here. We have been planning for this for some time now. Just having people show up for things we plan for. I think one, it helps us understand what people are struggling with. It helps us understand how to support people better, and also based off a lot of the feedback we get, we're able to design better programs, right? I know a couple of you were at the summit in February. First of all, thank you so much for attending. We're still, I think, I would say we're still on a high in a way. Basically, just the feedback, the impact, the testimonials we've gotten, say even a month after the event has been humbling, right? I had a vision for the summit and just seeing that a lot of people were able to achieve what we were optimizing for, or a lot of people got the message we're optimizing for. It's really amazing. So thank you so much. So let's see. First of all, today we're here to talk about executing better in Q2. A lot of times we have the right motivation, but we have the wrong archetype. Right. Again, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, I promise to sort of like take us step by step through this. I would like to express that this is not necessarily this is not just a session where I come and talk, right? This is a diagnostic session where everybody, I hope you have a pen and paper, or at least your notes app next to you. Um, is to sort of like just help you get to know yourself better, right? A lot of times we say we are procrastinators and whatnot. I tell people that not everybody's a procrastinator. I think it took me some time to also know that I wasn't a procrastinator. It was just that I was working out of sync, right? And so today's session is basically to help you know how you execute better, how you execute as a human, how you are wired to execute as a human, and how you can sort of like transfer that into the work you do, projects you have planned. I know a couple of people said they're able to achieve a lot of their goals. Some people ran the marathon. Some people were able to work better, work harder, but also work shorter hours, which is awesome. Love it for you. Um, Other people were able to sort of like switch roles. I've received a lot of people testimonials in my email from the newsletter who tell me that I think someone said the I think there was the way she said it. She said she has found a way to love all parts of herself. Before she used to sort of like push those parts of herself away, but now she has known to accept those parts of herself, and she has seen how she that has impacted relationships, that has impacted how she shows up at work, and that for me is just humbling, right? So, um, like I said, today is just to help you know yourself better, because I am of the opinion that they tell you, oh, knowledge, have knowledge of everything, but honestly, knowledge of self is one of the most remarkable things we can have. Now, a lot of times when you procrastinate, people tell you that it's because you're not consistent, right? Or you're not disciplined enough and all of that. And every time you see a lot of productivity tips, again, I have also been one of the people that advocated until I got to realize that, oh, this is different, right? And then I tried it out and also tried, supported other people to try it out and saw how within 3 months people sort of like immediately switched. How far or how much they do within this year. Let me give you an instance. Within this year alone, I have read 8 books already, and that's something that. So I used to read a lot before, but within this year, I decided that you know what, it is possible for me to read a lot more books. I wanted to replace some bad habits with sort of like attaining knowledge, with sort of even having better conversations, being able to speak more properly. Again, I feel like I'm a very articulate speaker, but then um, the work I have been called to do requires me to become even better. The work I've been called to do requires me to have more insights to be able to support members of our community or even clients that we serve. So I decided I was going to read 4 books a month, and I've been able to achieve, again, this is me even saying that I wasn't able to meet my goal, all right? But then for someone who would read 4 books a year to reading 8 books in 3 months, like I have one that before the end of this before the end of today, I would actually finish, right? So that means at the end of today, I would have completed about 9 books, right? Which means, okay, I was able to achieve 3 books every month, which is huge. I started a new job this year. I ran hosted balance on the Heat Reverse Summit. It is a big deal, guys. Like, it was a lot of planning. I know a couple of people on the team are here. Like, I was able to do all that. Even at work, I was able to close some deals, all because I decided that, okay, this system, I've seen it work for me in other places, but let me see for 3 months, right? Um, so interestingly, I'm working on this with friends, right? A couple of friends of mine who've been doing this every year. We have these goals click. So we would have the most audacious goals possible. Um, I think there was this time that one of us, I think just 2 years ago, the goal was, oh, she was wrapping up her MBA, and there's no clear pathway for her getting a PhD, but she will get into a PhD program, and it will be sponsored, fully sponsored. There was someone who said she was going to start a company and she was going to make $100,000. Another person was like, oh, he plans to get married and he knows that he's not even in a relationship right now, but he plans to get married before the end of this year. And crazy thing, every single one of us achieved our goals. Now, it wasn't forced, it was just that we changed our mindset about a couple of things, and that positioned us to achieve these goals. So, my first question to you today is, how many of you have things you want to do, but you're struggling to do them? You can just do a thumbs up, or put it in the chat. Maybe there's one particular goal that you've been struggling to achieve, maybe a couple, right? Okay, I can see a lot of hands. That means the truth is consistency is not a problem. Discipline is not your problem. You don't have a knowledge for it, because the fact that you're aware that you just can't achieve this goal means that it's an execution problem. And so I would like to first of all help rewire your mind against whoever has told you you're not consistent. Now, I like to give this example. There was time I was I was having a conversation about someone, and I think I was having a conversation with someone, and I was like, oh, this was years back. I was like, I don't think I'm consistent enough, because I'm like, oh, I'll start going to the gym, and then in less than, I think the longest time I've stayed working out is 6 months. And that felt like I was dragging my feet. Like, when they wake you up to go to the gym and you're like, oh my God, why? And all that, right? Now, don't, I know a couple of us are here, but there are people that enjoy going to the gym. Now, just some days ago, I was with a friend and she was telling me how um she was going to the gym because she wanted to be fit, but somehow she has lost weight. And right now, that is actually, which everybody would think that it's great, right? But she hates it because she was as consistent as everybody said she should be consistent. She was going to the gym as frequently as possible, but she has lost weight and she doesn't like the fact that she has lost weight because that was not the goal for her. So, which means consistency can actually help you achieve a goal that is different from what your actual goal is. Right. All this to say, um, when people tell you you're not consistent, feel free to tell them, I am consistent. I'm just consistent with the right priorities. Now, I'm not saying you should go and say you are consistent over things you know you are being lazy about. Please, let's not do that. Don't go and say Rachel said you are consistent. Meanwhile, you're just being lazy in a particular area, right? So please, let's not do that. But yes, you don't have a knowledge problem. You have an execution. So this is something that I had to learn over time, and I'm proud to officially put it out there as one of my quotes, right? Know yourself and you become a force. Ignore yourself and you become a product of your environment. Let me give you an example. In relationships, right? When you think about when you go think of it, right? I don't know. I feel like some of you have gotten into relationships that ended in marriage. Love it for you. Some of you have gotten into relationships that did not end in marriage. Trusting God that you get married. We're all together, right? But one of the things that has helped me to show up better in relationships, this is both friendship and also romantic relationships, is knowing myself. Like the moment I was finally able to have a full self-awareness of what I liked, what I didn't like. It allowed me to not place myself in situations that no longer serve me. It allowed me to leave opportunities, or maybe like literally early this year, I had accepted this consulting gig earlier in the year. And 1 week into the gig, I started seeing some things and I was like, I told them, I think the following week, I was like, I'm sorry, I won't be here. Now that is good money. And common sense would say, with all being Nigeria is stay there and make this money. But I knew myself enough to know that if I stay here, I won't give the best of myself. And because I'm not giving the best of myself, it means that I will waste their time. And by wasting their time, they won't achieve their goal. And then that would be a bad record. For example, someone runs into the person and they say, oh, yeah, how do you work with Rachel? They'll be like, that Rachel, forget to whatever they tell you about her is not is not that. But I'm excellent at my work. It's just I wasn't excellent there. Right. And that was why I was like, okay, before we get there, I'm not going to do that gig. So I walked away. Now, in romantic relationships, there are times when people will tell you that they are happy they got married early. Other people will tell you that they wish they waited, right? Now, both opinions are right. For those who got married early and they tell you they're happy they got married early, it's because they had partners who they were able to grow with. So for every time they got to learn something new about themselves, their other partner was able to sort of like adapt and also learn something new about themselves. So in a way, they got to fall in love with each other again and again through the changes. There are people who tell you they regret getting married early because they did not know who they were. And as of right now, what is happening is that either they have learned something new about themselves and their partner is still hung up on the old version of them and they don't want them to grow. So they feel stuck. That's one. The other people who tell you that, oh, they are happy they waited is because, and I'm one of those people, I'll tell you that I had opportunities to get married much earlier. And right now I'm like, oh God, thank God I did not get married because I would have hated who I would become because of the constraints that would have existed. Not because this person would have been a terrible person, but because I have learned so much about myself within the past 1 year alone that I'm like, anybody that would. And again, when people, there are times you go into conversations and you tell people that, oh, I know this about myself. Oftentimes you don't. That's the truth. Until times and seasons test you. And I remember 2023, 2024 was one of those times where I was tested. Time and season tested me to see if those core values I said I have, are they real? And I realized that about 60% of them were not real. But then what happened was it got me to sort of like learn self-love in a different way. It got me to learn acceptance of myself, of people in a different way. And to the point where, oh, if I go into it, I think I got into a relationship and it's like it's easier, right? It's more chill. It's easy for me to say, oh, you know what? This I don't like. It's easier for me to express my expectations better because I know what I want and I know what I don't want, right? And it's easier for the other person to express themselves, and I'm able to accept the wholeness of them as this is what this person's expectations are. Can I meet it? Yes. If I can't meet it, then let them go. You get it's that simple. But the problem is we go into job opportunities, we go into relationships, we go into projects without having a clear sense of who we are. And then that project, that work opportunity, that relationship will tell us who we are not. And then we'll stay frustrated because regardless of how you feel in your inner core, you know that this is not it. You just can't put a name to it yet. So know yourself and you become a force. At Balance Unleashed, this is our alignment philosophy around execution, right? And even around all of the programs we do, right? Craft mastery is what you do. Mind mastery is how you think, and self mastery is how you're wired. Now, a lot of times when people try to solve for their execution problems, right? They solve for it on the basis of within craft mastery, what you do or how you do it. So they will say, okay, problem is that every time I start a new project at work, I find that within the earlier part of the project, I'm so excited about it. I have all of these ideas. I jump into it. I write all of these things. And then when we start the project, midway, my mind is not there. And then afterwards, I now, towards the end of the project, I now decided, you know what, let me jump back in. Now, oftentimes people would want to solve for that experience by reducing their energy in the first level. That's when the project is just starting. And then towards the middle, they will, how do I explain? Towards the middle, they will try to force themselves to work harder, right? Still, they will feel all kinds of way, they'll feel terrible, but they will drag themselves through the project. Then towards the end, then they will have this low energy because that midpoint was so strained, right? What that does is you are actively changing yourself to solve for a weakness when what you are supposed to be doing is probably delegating the weakness. Now, my background is learning experience program design and management. So I can tell you for a fact that every time we are designing learning experience, right, we would always think of it this way. Okay, learners are going to be excited at the start. Midpoint, energy will drop. It's a natural human thing. And then towards the end, everybody will try to catch up. Think about it on projects that you worked on in school, right? You started a project, everybody was excited. Midpoint, all of you disappeared except the 2 to 3 people who were actively dragging the group. And then at the end of it, there are people who don't even show up after phase one until the day of project defense, right? Again, it's not often laziness, it's just that they don't know how to show up effectively within that time. Now, so most times when you want to solve for it, you will say, oh, you want to solve for the craft mastery, what you do, and all of that. Now, when it comes to mind mastery, the challenge that I have with a lot of talent, right, is when it comes to mind mastery, you forget that how you think changes everything for you. Now, the question is, how many of you think you procrastinate a lot? You can just raise your hand, use the emoji or whatever. How many of you think you procrastinate a lot? Okay. Okay. Now, how many of you think you procrastinate because you can't help it? It's like you've tried everything you can and somehow it just doesn't work. Okay. I'm glad that people are not raising their hands because it means that you've not tried everything, which is a good mindset to have. Now, there are there are people who cripple themselves. There's this thing they talk about attaining wealth and how most times becoming a millionaire starts in the mind. And some of us will be like, it's a lie, right? Some of us will be like, yeah, that's true. Now, depending on whatever your perspective is, it's okay. But the truth is, when your mind is structured around seeing limitations, right, it's hard for you to break out of that limitation. Think of it this way. Um, there's this I think elephants were somewhat conditioned when they are very young, when they're like a small size elephant. They will put this like a rope on their neck, and then sort of like whoever is working with them will keep dragging that rope while they are young, up until they get, I think, after maybe like a couple of months, they stop hanging those ropes around their neck. But then elephants will grow older, and then you will have someone just walking beside them, and they will have their hand as though they have the rope, but the rope is not there. But their minds have been conditioned to think that a rope is there. So they are literally in bondage. Now, the reason why you don't execute as well as you should is often because you think you can't do things at the right time. And I'll break it down a bit further as we go. Now, the last part is self mastery. I feel I've already explained a bit of this, so there's no need to go harder into this. It's how you're wired, right? how what your personality type is. Some people will tell you if there's something that I learned very early on in my career is when you're working on even projecting, I'm sure some of you are managers, you can't pair everybody, you can't pair all of the A players on the same team. You will have more conflict. You can't pair all of the B players, your project will literally die. You can't pair all of the C players. So there has to be a mix, right? And there are tools that helps with this. So even when you are working on a project as an individual, think about it. What like Jegede mentioned earlier, he was able to identify his most high peak period within the day, and he works within that time. And literally during the afternoon, he doesn't do anything. And he has found that he's able to achieve things much faster and he gets to rest more, right? So most execution problems are actually self-mastery problems, is that you don't know yourself well enough. But hopefully during this call, we help you achieve that. There's something called the mismatch loop, right? Is that you move from a goal, you have this awesome goal, you have the wrong strategy, you struggle so hard, then self-doubt comes in and you're like, oh gosh, why did I even start this? And then you don't end up running that goal, and then you repeat the whole thing. That is why you would have one goal that has been lingering for years, that business idea that you said you want to start, that till date you've not started. That is the reason. But then there's a different way. The idea is there's no one way to execute their patterns, which is what we call archetypes, right? So my question to you is, do you know what your archetypes are? If you don't know, that's fine. But I know a couple of people actually took the archetype test. So if you know what your archetype is, can you please just drop it in the chat? That way we know who are the people who have maybe taken the test or who have sort of like gone through I think we sent out an execution or archetype audit. Anyone in the room able to view that? Also, what we were talking about there. Okay. Archetype 1, the sprinter. Mr. I work best under pressure. How many of us believe that we fall under this category? Hey, Robert says he falls under this category. Miss Oma is like, nope. So, Miss Oma, pressure doesn't do anything to you. Good to know. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, Toluani says he works best under pressure. Okay. 24 works best under pressure. Now, the thing is this, right? People who work best under pressure, it's real, right? I used to be one of those people till I feel like till date I still there are times that I allow myself, oh, you didn't receive the period. So what happened was that okay, Jude says he worked best under pressure. If there's bastard money involved, yes. Okay, so I would say a couple of people. So I guess after this call, we would send out the audits again. So it was a document that we asked people to download if they're interested to know what their execution archetype is. But then the good thing is the document that a couple of people went read through, and this is a more extended version of it, right? So within that document we had just 4 archetypes. Within this conversation we have 6, which is much more broad, right? But let me quickly run through them. But I've seen myself this year working to meet up before deadlines. That's visible. Proud of you, Miss Oma. So we have people who believe that they work best under pressure. Now, I personally don't think that is the case, right? I feel the challenge is you think you can, it's either you allow yourself get, what I say, distracted, or you prioritize other things ahead of when you should be able to work on. Like you prioritize other things instead of working on what you're supposed to be working on. The moment you change your mind around what should be prioritized, you realize that okay, maybe I actually don't work under pressure. Maybe I just thought I work well under pressure. Now think about it this way. Um, let's say within this conversation, again, I said everybody should please have a pen or something. So think about a goal that you've always wanted to achieve right now. Think about one goal. Do we all have that in our mind? One goal you've always wanted to achieve, right? Now, um, what is one thing that's stopping you from achieving this goal? Please be very honest with yourself. Now, for some of you, it could be that you have a lot of other priorities, and that's definitely okay. For some of you, it could be that every time you start this goal, start working on this goal, you get overwhelmed and then you stop, right? And that's totally okay. For other people, it could be that you you honestly don't even know why you actually set this goal. It just felt like one of those New Year resolutions thing, and right now you are like, okay, am I sure? So Toluani said, I care too much about other people's business. Thank you so much for sharing that. Like, it's a great thing to understand that, okay, I'm doing so much about other people, what other people want me to do, and I'm forgetting what I'm supposed to do. Now, different people have different, I don't want to call them excuses, but they're actually excuses. Now, think about it this way. If you had, if you heard that the world was ending in 6 months' time, would you execute this goal? Please feel free to use the thumbs up or thumbs down emoji. Will you execute this particular goal? The world is ending in 6 months. Okay. Robert is not going to execute. Okay. Because there's no point, right? But okay. For people who, okay, Aziz is not going to execute. Okay. So I think the question is, please feel free to raise up your hand and if you want to sort of speak. Why will you execute? Maybe anyone who raised up their sort of like prompted that they will execute, please, you can pop up or you can drop in the chat why you execute it and why you won't execute it. So Aziz and Robert said they are not going to execute it. Why? And it's okay to say because you feel like it's an absolute waste of time. It's okay. All right. But why won't you execute it? I'm waiting. Oh, I gave myself to working on a lot that I couldn't focus and produce the best. Okay. Okay. So I'm guessing this is your reason for why you haven't achieved your goal. Thank you for sharing me, someone. No point. Since the world is ending, who am I executing for? Okay, my priorities will change if I know when the world is ending. Very true. Very valid. Thank you so much for sharing. These are the two people who said they will not execute. For those of you that say you execute, why? Why will you keep working on this? Please share. Why is it still important for you to execute this goal with the knowledge that the world is ending in 6 months? I will execute because I will ask myself what tangible seed I have left behind before I disappear. Thank you, because I've conceived it and there's pressure. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Most of my tasks are aligned with my core why. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this. Now, I'm so glad Ebenezer shared that part because that was the next one. A lot of times, it's possible that the reason why you haven't been able to achieve this goal is because this is not even connected to what you're supposed to be doing. Like this year, you're not supposed to be doing this particular goal, but it's a nice to have. But then there's also the part of, okay, if the world is ending, what's the point? Right. Now, what's the point? Because, okay, now you can maybe like decide that, oh, you're going to prioritize family. You're going to prioritize just making your ways right with God. You're going to eat all of the things they said you should not eat before. Because now you know the world is ending. So again, all of the things you're wasting time for and all of that, living healthy, you get to do that. But the truth is, oftentimes the reason why we don't execute goals as fast as we need to is because we are still on a subconscious level trying to figure out, do I really care about this? And it's okay if you don't. The reason why I'm asking this question is so that you can reassess a lot of things you are checking, because if you don't check all of these things, you will spend so much time and not achieve this goal. But again, for Mr. I work best under pressure. It's not that you work best under pressure, it's that it is not a priority for you right now. And how do you set your priorities? You set priorities based on what is important to you. And what is important to you is tied to your core values, right? And your core values are tied to your why. Why are you here? Now, I know that when it comes to a balance on niche project, my mind, even if I'm not writing things down, my mind is going on spirals. Like sometimes I used to pray like, God, please, can my mind just quiet down for a bit so that I can sleep? That can, the moment things like that are popping up, I will immediately pick up my laptop and start typing things. I will work on different things and I'll sort of like ensure that, okay, there are times that, okay, for example, the slides for this event, this summit, I had not worked on it until, let's say, 90 minutes before this session. But then what you don't know is that I had written down everything on a notebook, right? I've written down everything on a notebook, and all I had to do was sit down and sort of like put it up within a slide. Now, for people who work best under pressure, is that they are waiting for that last minute for all of the ideas to come. And yes, it happens. The brain sometimes works like that. Now, I'm not saying this to criticize how you work. I'm saying this to help you check. Do you work best under pressure because it's what you enjoy or what you think you enjoy, or because you don't want to, how do I say this? You don't want to put yourself under any form of pressure. That is where the laziness. Remember how I said earlier that it's possible for someone to say you are inconsistent and you say, oh no, that's not true. I'm consistent. But then it's actually laziness. So this is me just saying, check. Do you actually work best under pressure or are you lazy? The other part is, let's say you actually work best under pressure. What happens is you tend to miss deadlines. So if you tend to miss deadlines, the question is, what system can you create for yourself? Can you create a system where you give yourself, instead of, for example, I tell people that whenever I'm leading projects, it's because I know the kind of people I work with. There are people that I will tell exactly when this project is due. There are people who I will tell, this project is due, let's say the project is due on the 5th of April. I'll tell them the project is due on the 2nd of April because I know that they will waste our time. Or I know that there are people who say they work best under pressure, but I need everybody aligned within the same time. There are people who I will tell them, hey, take all the time you need. Because I know that they will, the moment I give them that task, they'll work on it immediately. Now, for you who work best under pressure, if you want to sort of like improve, now it's not about you, because let me take a step back. Think about it this way. If you work best under pressure, it means that you are inching close to every deadline. And oftentimes you can have some deadlines that are coming together at the same time. But what you can do is this. You can decide that, you know what, aside the normal deadline that was given, I'm going to give myself an artificial deadline. So if this project, yes, I have 5 things I'm supposed to do over the next 1 week, I am going to decide that on Monday, I'm going to do one thing. That project is due, let's say, on Thursday. I'll do it on Monday. On Wednesday, I'm going to do this. On Thursday, I'm going to do this. Now, what you do by giving yourself the artificial deadline is you put, your brain honestly doesn't know the difference between a real and artificial deadline. So it ends up thinking that, okay, she said it's Tuesday that we're submitting this thing. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. On, what was it called? Monday afternoon, your brain starts looking into, okay, I need to work on this. We are still leveraging the fact that you work best under pressure, but then you are using it to sort of like do more within a shorter period of time. So instead of waiting to the point where you're not trying to do 5 tasks within Thursday to Friday, you get to do 5 tasks over the span of 5 days, but then you get to do it in this with the same level of quality because your brain has been placed under artificial pressure. I hope that makes sense. Number 2, Miss Architect, I need a clear and detailed plan before I start. Now, I am one of these people, right? And I had to learn the hard way because there are times that I would wait for too long to execute things because I was like, oh, I need to be sure of this, I need to be sure of that. But what I started doing was this. I had to learn to create sprints for myself. For example, if a project has 5 phases, I will tell myself, okay, all I need to be, all I need to know or be clear about right now is phase one. I would ensure that I have a clear plan for phase one. The rest of the project, it's fine if we figure it out later. Now, for some people, it is hard to understand how this works. But you see, the thing is, project scope changes. There are things that they call it within project management, you call them known knowns, known unknowns, unknown unknowns, right? All of those things are things that spring up on you that you don't know. So what happens is if you keep waiting for a clear, detailed plan, you won't start because there are things that even your stakeholders will tell you that, so we know that we want to train 500 people. We don't know where they're supposed to come from, or we know there's this outcome that we want, especially let's say NGOs. There are times that they'll give those kind of scope, right? So what you do is you allow yourself to say, okay, phase one of this project, this is all I need. You can have a clear idea of some of the other resources you need for other phases to help you map out, let's say budgeting, let's say stakeholder management, let's say resource planning and whatnot. That's fine. But then if you are able to take out that one project phase and then you put in all of your effort into it, and then you allow, let's say, someone to keep it, sort of like spin it off, or you even spin it off, while you tell your mind, okay, 80% of my time is focused on figuring out this project, and then 20% of my time is specific to figuring out the next phase of the project. You get to do more quality work without wasting everybody's time, without getting overwhelmed, without putting yourself under unnecessary pressure. Because again, let me give you guys an instance. There's a project I wanted to run within March, but somehow it didn't work out. Why? Because a lot of the people I wanted to, a lot of the people I wanted to reach out to, they were like, oh, you know what? Let's look at later in the year. I'm really interested. I want to do this. But right now is just not the best time. And it was frustrating for a bit, but later I was like, you know what? You don't know what. Later I was like, okay, this actually gives me more time to prepare, which was an awesome thing for me. But now, what a lot of people don't know is this project was meant to happen in Qatar. And we all know what is happening in the Middle East right now. Now, imagine I had a clear plan, or I stayed and I was like, oh, every inch and or nook and crannies of this project, I want to have clarity and all of that, and I want to execute and all that. I remember talking to some of the partners, and I'm like, hey, I don't have all of the details right now, and I want to work on it when it feels right to work on it. I have full extent of the first phase of the program. I have full understanding of the second phase of the program. Now, beyond that, I did not have a full context. And it was me saying, you know what, God, when it happens, let it happen. Right. But when this whole Doha thing came up, I was like, oh my God, what if I carried people there and then this thing happens and they can't get out? And now I have to pay for hotels for even more time. I have to reschedule flights. Okay, yes, with flights and all of that. Now there were some countries, I think it was Dubai, that they allowed foreigners to stay much longer. But in Doha, that was not the case. That means that is money. Imagine you spent the money, like you spent the actual project cost, and then now whatever your profit is would have gone into planning or sort of like ensuring that everybody is fine, everybody is safe. Now, all this to say, I didn't have a detailed plan, but I had parts of a plan that was well executed, and I got feedback. And I was like, okay, let's put a pin on this till later. And by the time, not too longly after, we learned that this whole thing happened, it has saved me time because I allowed myself a bit of freedom on the detailed plan I wanted to have. I allowed myself a bit of freedom to not be boxed into a space and then things would have gone so wrong. And I'll now say, but I planned so well. Do you know what that does? That puts a lot of, like, humans, even though it was World War or whatever, Humans will not think of it as this was a challenge. They will think of it as I was the one who was the problem. I failed at this. If I had known and all of that, even though you won't say it out, your mind often thinks that way. So my recommendation is if you're someone who needs a detailed plan before you start, break those projects into phases and have a detailed plan for one. It's hard, but it's one of the best things that will help you manage your energy. And the truth is, if you can't manage your energy, you won't get to the end of the project well rested. You won't get to the end of the project happy. You won't get to the end of the project fulfilled. Your energy is one of the most awesome assets. Let's say for business owners who will tell you that, oh, I have this idea right now and I know how it's going to work, but I don't know how it's going to make money. Start with the idea. The truth is, there are some things that you figure out over time. We're having a conversation earlier today that someone said that tech people like money. And someone who has been in tech for the longest, he said, no, the thing is, there are people who come into tech with the expectation that they will make a lot of money. But then people who are truly techies, they did not plan to make money here. Think of Steve Jobs. Think of when he started in his father's garage and he was just building computers. The truth is, he did not plan to make money at the time. He just knew that he wanted to be able to provide value. So the question is, are you waiting for a detailed plan to validate yourself to say that, oh, you've provided value? Or you want to sort of, it's imposter syndrome that is keeping you stuck? Or can you create value within the first phase and ship it out so people can say, oh, this person is actually providing value. We can't wait to see what she does next. But then you hold on to the entire project and you don't get things moving. You end up not providing value. You waste people's time. You waste people's resources. So my recommendation is box your project into different states. The next archetype is flow seeker. Mr. My environment and mood matters. I have to be in the right mood. It's sunshine and rainbows. If it's not sunshine and rainbows, I'm not going to do anything and all of that. It's a great position to be in. Actually, people who work in flow are some of the people who, how do I explain it? They get the most done. But now, if there's one thing I've learned about working in flow is this. You need to be able to understand. Okay, let me use this example. Think of how many of you watch football here or basketball? Okay. Miss Omar said this is her. Okay, Abdul Samad said he works. Okay. So a couple of you watch sports. Some of your top athletes, right? Think of it. Everybody knows that there's Premier League season, and people know that there's I think La Liga. I don't know so much about football, so please forgive me. Different people know that there's season when footballers are actively playing games. So it's like almost every day there's one match or the other happening, right? So teams are going to one place or the other. Now, the time they are not playing, what are they doing? Do you know? Please feel free to unmute or type in the chat. When they're not playing, what are they doing? They're training. Awesome. They're training. Okay. Now, do we all know that they are doing things that recharge them? Thank you, Ms. Omar. They're training. Do we all know that training sometimes, again, some of you go to the gym, right? When you are training, you also have rest days. Thank you, Jagede. Some vacation, right? You have rest period. Now, do you know that the athletes don't actually, how do I explain this? The time they take to rest and to train is like their most precious time compared to when they're playing. Because if you think about the season, right, when they're playing is actually a very short time within the year, but the rest of the time is training and resting. Why is that? It's because even when you go to the gym, your gym, whether instructor or even your gym app that you use will tell you, hey, um, for example, if you work out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday rest, Thursday, Friday, do recover. They call it recovery. Recovery is very important. Which is why I loved how Jagede said usually I'm assuming that right now afternoon is his recovery phase. Now, the things that get people burnt out or get people to stop executing, especially flow seekers, is when they are actively pursuing flow. Now, flow is a state of mind where you step into this state where the concept of time, the concept of space, the concept of energy goes out the window because you are deep into work. You are just working on everything, and everything is just awesome right now. But the thing is, it doesn't last. The longest time that consistent flow lasts is actually 90 minutes based on research. So the idea is within those 90 minutes, how much can you do? And then the next 30 minutes, what else can you do? What does recovery look like for you? Because the more you stay in flow, or the more you keep chasing after flow, you end up getting stretched. You move from flow to stretch. And if from stretch you don't move into recovery, you end up getting burnt out. So, which is why they will tell athletes, okay, let's do what's it called? Even if it's 5 minutes, right? I watch basketball more. So basketball, they have multiple what's it called timelines to play. And then it gets 5 to 7 minutes of break, 5 to 7 minutes of break. And after that, they come back with more energy because those times are like very little recovery time. But then when all of this is happening, in the grand scheme of things, once they are done with that football game, for the next or basketball, for the next couple of months, they are training. But even the training within that time is a season of trying hard. When they actually do those sports or sort of like do the game itself, it's not even their most high peak period. Their most high peak period is when they are training. So the training is what we call stretch. So stretch is when you get to that point where you want to keep staying in flow, but you don't have enough knowledge. So you have to take a step back and for you to sort of like just maybe research something. That research, it does two things to you. It allows you to sort of like break out of flow, but it also allows your mind to expand enough to attain, sort of like retain more information for you to now step into your next flow state. But the only way you can step into your next flow state is through recovery. So it is essential for you to understand if you are a flow seeker, it's okay to seek flow, but you need to implement recovery into those moments. Otherwise, what will happen is the more you're not able to attain flow, the more your mood gets scattered. And the more your mood gets scattered, the more you can't attain flow. It's a very vicious circle, but it helps to sort of like just know what works best for you, when you need to rest, and when you need to pick things back up. Personally, there are times that even if, how do I explain this? Even if I need to work on a crazy thing and maybe it's due by 9:30, I'm not going to give you that thing because I'm not in flow. And I will go and either start watching SpongeBob because that is a bit of a recovery phase for me. But then I will start looking at, okay, start thinking of, oh, what are some things that I'm not thinking of right now? And then I'm able to get back into flow and work on that. So for some people, your archetype is this. It's just that your challenge is you depend so much on being in flow. But the question is, can you find a way to create flow for yourself? Can you partition your calendar into 90-minute blocks of work? But then in between those 90 minutes, you have, let's say, a 20-minute break where you are not doing anything that is targeted at this work. For that 20 minutes, find something completely different to do, something that breaks flow. And by the time you move on, you come back, your brain will be more refreshed, more ready to move on. So I hope that helps you, Miss Ona. Archetype, the next archetype is finisher. Means I just need to finish things. Now, these are people who start everything, right? They start everything and they don't finish anything. And I remember someone had reached out to me a couple of weeks back, right? Talking about how they struggle to finish things. It's not because they intentionally do that, is that they start all of these amazing things with high energy and wanting to finish them, but they just can't get there. Now, the question is, are you struggling to finish because you have to do all of these awesome things you started? Or are you struggling to finish because you are trying to prove yourself to people that you can do so much at once? Those people that brag that they are multitaskers and whatnot. Oh, I'm so good at multitasking, blah, 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 and all of that. Love it for you. Now, some people are good at multitasking, but some people are, they just There's one thing I've learned in this my very short life is sometimes when people around us say they are good at multitasking, we want to feel among. Then we'll say, yeah, 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 me too. I'm good at multitasking. Me, I will tell you straight up. See, if I'm having a conversation with you right now and someone texts me and I'm trying to type to the person, I will go and be typing what I'm trying to say to you to the person I'm texting. That is how bad my brain is at multitasking. Or maybe I tell people that I don't like watching movies with people, especially my mom. I don't like watching movies with her because she would want to be gisting and talking to you about something. But for me, I want to be able to be so focused on that thing. It could be a movie I've watched like 17 times, but still, I want to read the subtitle. I want to hear it again. I want to have that very little minimal close to that feeling again. It's because my brain knows how to work on this thing once. But there are people who genuinely, it could be that they have ADHD and they like to sort of like pick things up. It's completely okay. Now, the question is this: how can you finish things better? Or how can you um, maintain your energy till you get things finished? My recommendation to you would be identify identify a create also is similar to the whole flow seekers. Create a time block for yourself, right? While you create this time block for yourself, right? You need, how do I explain this? You need starting triggers, right? For example, you have 17 tabs open and all of these are work tabs, or maybe 17 to-do lists. What you need is something to trigger you to start each of these tasks. It's not discipline you need. A lot of people would think that it's discipline. Honestly, it's not. What you need is a trigger. Now, if there's one thing I started doing was there was a time. So I would like to emphasize that there are times that a part of us, that a full version of us sort of like flows through each of these archetypes, right? There are times that you are not just one. There are times that you have multiple of these archetypes, and it's okay. Don't tell yourself, or more this one that they are calling a lot of the archetypes, and I'm seeing myself. Maybe I'm the problem. I promise you, you're not. We are very multifaceted humans, and it's okay for us for different elements of ourselves to show up in different ways. But then the thing is, when you want to, when you find you need triggers. So how do I explain this? I start things a lot, right? I will start multiple things. I had to tell myself to stop starting too many things. I gave myself a limit of, in every quarter, you're only allowed to do 10 things. And the moment those 10 things, you have to be sure of those 10 things. So there are times that people reach out to me that, oh, hey, how far? We need to work on this together. I'll be like, can we circle back middle of this quarter? I can add it to next quarter's plans. I can't add it to this quarter because at, let's say, beginning of last quarter, I had made clear understanding. I had a clear understanding of what I had the capacity to do this quarter. It's a capacity thing that you are missing. Is that you think you have this capacity to do everything, and honestly, you don't. We have finite amount of energy, and having finite amount of energy means that if you put yourself, you get to set yourself up, and that is not what you should do, because the more you do that, the more you lose out on time, you lose out on energy. The more you lose out on energy, the more you lose out on your ability to show up with quality. The more you lose out on your ability to show up with quality, the more people don't trust you to deliver. And that is not what you want. Because again, depending on whatever stage in your career is, because you are doing that job, people expect you to show up better. So back to our finishers. You need you need to be able to set triggers for yourself. What are triggers? It can be, again, it could be tied to the people who, what's it called? The people who, what's the archetype? Yes, I work based on that pressure, right? It could be tied to what they do, which is they find ways to. I explained how you need to set like artificial deadlines for yourself, right? So for each of these things, set an artificial deadline for yourself, one. But understand that that is not enough. I totally get it. The other thing you can do is identify people, or put yourself in a position where this thing starts to pop in your head. Let me give you an example as to how I finished 8 books within the short period of time I talked about. I kept books on my bed. I kept a book in my toilet. I kept a book in my kitchen, kept a book in the living room. Those were triggers for me. It was that I did not, my plan was not, again, I started reading multiple books at a time. But what happens is when I go into the toilet in the morning, instead of wasting time and watching a TikTok reel, I pick up the book and I read 2 chapters or 2 pages. Even if it's 2 pages, it's okay. When I go on my bed, before I pick up my phone, the next thing I do is let me pick up this book, right? Because again, I did not have a timeline to finish each of this book, but I ensured that I had a trigger that would make me just make progress in one way or the other. Now, what does that progress look like for you in practical terms in whatever, let's say, project you're working on? It could look like um you starting a project at work and then forgetting that you're supposed to follow up on a couple of things. What you can do is set up ClickUp, automate a couple of things, and let ClickUp keep prompting you. There are some ClickUp settings that maybe you've identified all of your project levels. ClickUp will keep prompting you until you complete that task. Then it moves you to the next task, right? So your triggers could be alarm. But if you're one of those people, I have this friend who she and I will be on the same bed. An alarm will ring. Me, I will wake up and this girl has not woken up. If you're that type of person, please don't use that. But if you need to schedule emails to yourself that, oh, until I complete this email should keep coming, right? Is that you schedule it, let's say, knowing yourself, you could say that, oh, yeah, it's going to take me, let's say, 2 weeks to complete this. Let's say 2 days into the project, you email yourself, hey, you need to finish this project. Another day, it could even be words of affirmation. You tell yourself, superstar, you never finish this thing, no. How far? Pick it up. Let's keep it moving. Superstar. Remember that shawarma we said we'll buy for ourselves after we finish this project. That shawarma don't dey cold though, or that shawarma is becoming soggy. It's very easy yet fun ways to sort of like trigger yourself to go back to it. Another trigger I had to set for myself one time is this. I said for every time I don't complete a project, I would put 1,000 naira in my piggy vest, and that money is going to go towards someone that I don't like. Now, what does that do to you? It sort of like prompts you because again, you don't want as much you like sending money to people you like. But people you don't like sending money to them because again, you annoy me, right? So but imagine you set money aside. You are active for every time you waste time, you're setting money to sort of like just send to someone else. It will trigger you to finish the things you start. But final point on this is there are people who, for you to finish things, think of your time in currency. I always use this example. Rand Serhant, he's one of the top real estate brokers in the world. He talked again, maybe on Netflix, some of you might have seen a show, $1 million listing or selling New York or something. So he talks about how he thinks of every minute as $1,000. Now, let me help you think of this in your own context. Let's say $1,000 feels too much. Think of how much do you earn per month, right? And divide it by the number of days in the month, divide it by the number of hours in the month, and then divide this by the number of minutes. Sorry, number of hours in a day, and then divide it by the number of minutes in a day. Once you do that, you would see the value of each minute that you have against your current earning. Guys, it could humble you and tell you, guy, I'm not earning enough. Or it could push you. On the other end, something else you can do is when you do that one of how much you earn right now, I know all of us were aiming to sort of like earn more. Do it towards how much you ideally want to be earning at the end of this year. What that does is, let's say at the end of the year, every month you want to be earning $2,000. Now do that same math. Divide $2,000 by the number of days in a month, and then by the number of hours you work in a day, and then by the number of minutes. Once you do that, it also gives you context. Now, based off that, now you have a value of what you want your income to be worth in the next, let's say, couple of weeks or months. Now, when you think about projects, let's say you're supposed to apply for a job, but you refuse to apply for that job, and you think of every minute you lose, either on Instagram, You think of every minute you lose watching whatever you're watching, or you're playing Fortnite or Call of Duty. What it does is you now start to think of 15 minutes of your time or more. This is $100 I just lost. It helps you know that, okay, this 15 minutes, this $100 that I lost, if I go and sit down and complete this is $100 I've earned for myself. Not because the money will enter your hand directly, but you're sort of like reconstructing your mind to think as a finisher. And the more you think of that, sort of like you allow yourself to say, oh, I earned this money back. I earned this time back. It sort of like positions you to sort of like get access to have more free time to do all of those things that you want to do. But then at this time, you are not spending money. You are just having a great time. Collaborator, Mr. I work better with others. Now, this is a great thing. I have a colleague who is like this. I will work best when we're on a call. She's moving at the speed of light. But then now the problem is me. Who is the other person on the other end of the call? Remember, I said I'm not a multitasker. It means that my energy is focused on this call and I don't know how to step out of this. But for her, she's doing all the amazing things. She's like, oh, yeah, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that. Awesome stuff. Now, the challenge with this is you are crippled by people being around you. What if we go into another COVID lockdown and internet is down? How are you going to work on your task? That's a challenge for you as a collaborator. But then the good way to work on this is this. You can create a what I call working session with people, right? So you can create a working session. Let's say every day you have someone who has told you they want to learn the work you do. You can get on a call with them within that time. So instead of going to call people who don't actually have any business having a conversation with you at that time, right? Create a working session with people who have said, I want to learn how you do this thing. Because what you end up doing is you get to mentor someone at the same time. And the truth is, mentorship gives you a certain degree of fulfillment, right? So, and it's also because you're mentoring someone, it's something that oftentimes you should look forward to. But within that time, you're talking to the person that, oh, this is how I did this is how I do this, and all of that. And then after that, you've been able to complete your task, you've been able to mentor someone, you're able to feel more fulfilled, and you're happy, right? So that's the simplest way to improve how you work. Yes, you're a collaborator, you work best with others. That's okay. But now the other part is on your own end. How can you work best with yourself? You need to learn that. Otherwise, you are creating a system where you are crippled by others. In order for you to work best on your own, ideally, you should take time to sort of like create, let's say, focus time for yourself. You can be typing, you can jump on a call, record that call, and you're typing, and then, or you can even get an AI on the call. That's another thing. You can be typing, you can be talking to yourself, and then afterwards, you can go back on that call if you have the time to read the recording to state, okay, what did I miss? What did I do so well? What did I not do so well? You can go back to what this does is it makes you better at communicating with yourself. It makes you understand your gap in communication. It makes you understand. I tell members of my team, if there's someone I see who struggles with, let's say even presentation, I tell them, hey, go and record this presentation. Do it as often as you need to until you get to the point where this representation is supposed to take 2 hours, you drop it down to 15 minutes. It's possible, but it requires you to stay uncomfortable. And until you embrace that discomfort of being alone, you depend too much on people. It's okay to depend on people, but while you're depending on people, leverage it as an opportunity to serve them instead of them serving you. That would absolutely help you to execute better within this archetype. Finally, Miss, I move when it feels right. If the vibes aren't right, I'm not gonna move. Right? So these are intuitive people. Now, intuition is great, but sometimes intuition can keep you trapped because intuition oftentimes comes from a place of I know what I want, I know how I want it, but oftentimes growth happens within uncomfortable places, right? So when you know that, oh, you know when it's right and all that, yes, it's fine. But then what you need is capture systems, not control. So what do I mean by capture systems? Capture systems are Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Yeah. So capture systems is a simple way to immediately record ideas, tasks, or impulses the moment they come so you don't get lost or stay in your head. Right. So because oftentimes people who say when it feels right, they're always sometimes always in their head and they're like, oh yeah, I'm overthinking it and this doesn't feel right. But then with a capture system, it's like, okay, I'm going to just take all of this and write it down as it's coming, whether the ideas feels right or not, at least I have documented it. Because what happens is sometimes you have to place yourself in an uncomfortable state where you go back to those ideas and say, you know what, even though the vibe doesn't feel right now, I'm going to do it. There's this thing that let me give a reference to. I was listening to a message last night and the this person was talking about how this pastor was talking about how for those of you who are somewhat familiar with the Bible, or maybe like even again everybody knows about Easter is coming, right? And people talk about how, oh yeah, Jesus died on the cross and all of that. Now the thing is, a lot of people think that, oh, he enjoyed being on the cross. He did not. He endured it because he knew what the end goal is, right? Now when you fix yourself in this state of I move when it feels right, it means that Jesus would not have died because it did not feel right, right? And he literally said, let this cup pass away because at this point it wasn't feeling right. You get. But then today we know how that translates into how people are living today. So when you wait on every time that things feels right, you won't move. That is the reason why a lot of you have business ideas that you have not implemented. A lot of you have been saying you want to start that foundation that you've not started. A lot of you have said that you want to start apply for a job, and somehow everybody you are seeing that they are laying people off. And the more you wait, the more your chances of getting a job slims down because AI is taking everybody's job. So do allow yourself to have capture systems and come back to it when you are able to now sort of like do it in a more allow yourself to do things in allow how do I explain this? Create uncomfortable 20 minutes per day. Whether it feels right or not, within this 20 minutes, you're just going to execute. And the more you do that, the more you realize that you become not that you're still moving when it feels right. It still works for some things. But then there are some things that you need to just implement them, whether it feels right or not. Let's give you an instance. Maybe you work in a job where you do more strategy, but then there's an operations part of it. Now, you can do strategy when it feels right. You are always in flow. But then the operational part of it, those 20 minutes of, oh, this is my ops call time, ops meeting. So it's like you and yourself just having a meeting and you're like, okay, for this 20 minutes, I'm going to do all the operational things that I normally would not like to do as a strategist. So that is my recommendation for you, for someone who is intuitive. This, we're right on time. Oh gosh, I have just like 3 more slides and we're done. So, with everything that I've said right now, the true test is this. Based off all of the archetype that I've shared, you can drop in the chat or you can unmute to speak. When does execution feel easy for you? What conditions are present and what slows you down? When does execution feel easy for you? What conditions are present? What slows you down? Hey guys, are we typing? Okay, typing. So I want to wrap this up within the next 5 minutes max. So please, this is not me putting you under pressure. Yeah, people that like working under pressure. This is me giving you pressure. So yeah. Okay, Christabel said, feels easy when I'm out of my house. I'm glad to hear that. Again, that helps you sort of like create an environment that works best for you, right? I think there are times that I just randomly go to new places. Even in my office, I'll just be like, okay, today I'm going to work from another person's office, or even in my house. Sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to work from the living room instead of from my bedroom because let's say it gets too comfortable. So thank you so much for sharing. Okay. It feels easy when I don't have many other things standing in my mind, literally. Okay. Again, that's great. Here's a way to sort of like, because again, there are times that you could have your mind can be cluttered, right? Okay, let me just answer Christabel quickly. Now, for Christabel, you find that you work more easily when you're outside. But the thing is, I'm trying to help you execute better even when you're in your house, right? So what happens is you can find different locations. Sometimes I walk out of my kitchen. I'll just sort of like put my iPad on the distance and be working from there, and I'll be standing, right? Because I just wanted to break out of my current system, right? That is a new environment. And before my mind catches up to that, at least I've done achieve what I want to achieve. Next time I'll go to another room and go and work there and all that. So that's an example for you. But then another thing is the reason why you need to learn, it's not something that is forced. Again, we're trying to build systems, right? That's okay, over the next couple of weeks, you can try, let's say, within every week, I'm going to try working from the house once, but I'm going to use a different location than my normal location. And then in 2 weeks, you start another one. But then also enjoying every time, even when you go out, look for new places to go to. Don't go to one hub or one workstation every time. You go to this friend's house. The thing is, if you go to your friend's house too many times, they'll say, this woman is always coming to my house. I get that you like working here, but me, if I like to be come out from my house, why are you always in my house? So that's also things you need to be considerate of. But let's say it's in the pandemic time, like we had the last time. Would you say that within that time, you're not going to work, right? This is me sort of like telling you, find a way to thrive in those moments of working outside, but also find a way to put yourself in uncomfortable spaces so that you can optimize for bad days. Then Miss Soma said, when her mind is clear. So there's something I've been trying out and has been working for me awesomely. When my mind is cluttered, I play all these white sounds or black sounds on Spotify. This could be rain. This could be someone playing the flute. This could be someone playing something random, right? It helps, right? So, in case your mind is cluttered and you can't find a way to get things to just stop, you can leverage that. Another way is I know some windows, new windows, or even focus time. Identify 30 minutes and you're like, you know what, I'm going to start this goal. Actually, 2 minutes. I'm going to start this goal for the next 2 minutes. And after I start this goal, if my mind is still cluttered, I will stop. But if my mind find a way to clear up the moment I start, I can continue. Remember this mismatch loop that we talked about? So goal, wrong strategy, struggle, self-doubt, repeat. So the question is, what archetype were you forcing on yourself before? Because oftentimes we try to force an archetype on ourselves just because we're like, oh, I could work better. But it's possible that you didn't even know what your archetype was until this conversation. So you can just drop it in the chat and let's see what that looks like. Now, next, right? What conditions are present? Christopher said, when I work with people around me, I store information in my head a lot and need to finish. I like to finish my work fast so I can watch movies. Maybe I'm not answering, but no, it's fine. You're answering. What slows you down? When I'm in my house, I feel in my bed, no lights when I'm hungry. Totally agree with you, my dear. Once that bed is looking at you and there's no lights, yeah, I totally agree. Now, the thing is, I found that when there's no lights, or maybe like, oh, something happens that is out of my control, what I do is I go and pick up something that is somewhat within my control that makes me uncomfortable, which is the reading, right? A lot of the books I've read this year were because National Grid was down. That was like one of the major things. I'm sorry, I know everybody was struggling with National Grid, but it was good for me at some point. I don't want it to happen again, but it was good for me because I got to read a lot more, right? So that's something. So find again, put yourself in a very uncomfortable, the discomfort I'm recommending is controlled discomfort, right? That happens, say, 20 minutes per week, right? So that at least even when you are not in your normal state of execution, your normal execution type, you are able to do something in a state of discomfort for 20 minutes, which could actually mean so much for you. So What next? How does my execution and value systems align? A lot of people don't know how their execution and value system align, and that's something you need to figure out, right? Because you could have all of this knowledge about your execution archetype, you could have all of this knowledge about how to execute better within this year, you would have this knowledge about how to step into discomfort. But the thing is, you could be working in a company where your values and that company's work is totally misaligned. But how do you know? Do you even know your value system? A lot of people think they know their value system, but oftentimes they don't, right? That's something you need to figure out. The other part is, how do I switch when my subtype steps in? I know the question is, Rachel, what do you mean by subtypes? Apparently, or evidently, aside your archetype, there's actually a subtype. Actually, almost every archetype has about 3 to 4 subtypes, whereby today you could be that person who would I say, you could be that person who enjoys would I say, you enjoy just being in this flow state and whatnot, and then one day you find out that, oh, there's a different kind of flow. That's possible. Or you find that, oh, you enjoy working under pressure, but then you realize that you have pressure, but somehow you are not able to work. That is because your subtype has switched in, right? So that's something you need to figure out too. And the last part is sustainability part. There are times that you could have all of this figured out, but you cannot sustain it for more than a month. You can't sustain it for up to 6 months, right? Which means you start all of this awesome energy, all of these systems with full knowledge of your archetype, and then somehow things don't work. What do you do? The truth is, there's no easy way to handle this, but there are structures that you can put in place to make this happen. There are structures that you can use to practice these systems to help you sort of like achieve your goals much faster and also get you out of the way and sort of like get you to even achieving more goals. That is what my team and I, like my friends and I, actually do, where we'll take one awesome system and then we'll be like, okay, for the next 1 year, even the things that are very crazy, we'll be able to achieve them, right? Just because we now have a sustainability part, which has worked for years for us now. So I would like to introduce you to that system uh, because we created a program called Align You. And the purpose of this program is a 4 weeks program where we get to share as much as possible with you, like go a step further into your execution type, but also get you to come into we call it an execution container, with one audacious goal, one of the hardest goals you've been trying to figure out. Come into this execution container with that goal, and we help you achieve it based off systems that are designed specifically for your archetype. Today, I gave a bit of context about the archetypes. I gave a bit of context as to how to hack around or sort of like optimize for your weaknesses, leverage your strengths, but also optimize for your weaknesses. But within this execution container, we get to sort of like go a step deeper about how do you plan for when you have bad days more often, right? How do you plan to work better when something happened at home and you had zero control over it? How do you even know what your value systems are and how that ties into your execution type? Because oftentimes we don't know. How do you show up when multiple execution types are popping up and you don't know how to handle that, right? That's also something that we figure out, that we would help you figure out within this execution container. So, like I said, it's a 1 month program, 30 days execution experience for individuals who are ready to pursue one audacious goal the right way. We're starting on April 7th, and we have very limited slots. A couple of people have already taken on this slot. So if you want to be part of it, my team just dropped a link in the chat. Please just swing by there, secure your spot. Now, because you attended this, what I say, session, you get you get a 20% discount on the actual program fee. So I hope, but that 20% discount actually lasts. It ends on the second. Today is 31st, yeah. So second, 11:59 p.m. That is when it ends. So 48 hours, 20% discount, and after that it goes back to the normal price. So I hope you register. I hope we get to sort of like work together for 1 month across 8 sessions. We get to sort of like, it's not the one of, oh, we'll come to do Aspire to Maguire. No, we're going to sort of like break down your goals, and we're going to ensure that you are all achieving it, right? We are, if there are places, if there are people you need to talk to, if there are tools you need, we will work together to help you get those things out of the way. And at the end of the program, at the end of 1 month, you should have gotten to minimum, bad as bad, 70% of your goal. And some people would be able to sort of like complete their goal. I have worked on this multiple times with um teams, corporate teams, with individuals, and it has always happened without fail, right? They achieve their goal. Again, my life is a testimony. Even my friends' lives are a testimony, right? I got people, worked with people, and a couple of people got PhD programs, got scholarships into programs. I think someone I was having a call with just 2 weeks ago, he got into Stanford, right? Got funded fully to do his Stanford program. And Stanford hardly does full sponsorship, right? Like they haven't been doing that for a while. So all of these are things that have come out of this program. And I hope you get to be part of it. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. I hope you learned something from this session. I hope you found something of value. But yeah, if you have any questions, I think we don't have a lot of time. So I feel like I've already dragged this longer than usual. So I feel I can be able to take maybe 2 questions. So in the chat, yeah. Any question? Success, over to you.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Well done. That was insightful. Like every time I hear you speak, I'm always like, wow. Like I don't know. It's like time is moving really fast. I don't know. Like slow down. It was really really nice. Well done. Thank you so much for sharing. It was really impactful, and I love how every time you share, you're always like very honest and very vulnerable, and you go deep. It's like a masterclass. Honestly, I feel like you should have like paid masterclasses every time because this is top notch compared to all those random events that you go for and they just tell you one or two things and give you aspect my boy all over again. This one was really solid. Thank you so much for sharing. So yeah, thank you for joining everyone. This way you ask a question. Any questions you have, just raise your hands and then I'll call you, you unmute yourself and then you can speak. Yeah, ask your questions. Q2 is starting tomorrow. Is there anything you need clarity on? Rachel is the best person to answer your question. And I'm not capping. I'm not trying to. So yeah, if you have any question, you can drop in the chat if you are unable to speak. But if you can speak, just raise your hand and we'll answer them. So okay, Masterman just asked, what are proven ways to master weekly reviews that push people to stay consistent and meet their goals? I feel like that question is deep. Over to you, Rachel. Others, you can drop your questions or just raise your hand. So when Rachel is done with Masterman's question, we'll take others.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Miss Oma. What are proven ways to master weekly reviews that push people to stay consistent and meet goals? I think one way would be having accountability cycles, and that's one of the reasons why we are setting within the Align You program. We have like the idea is to hold people accountable in such a very strict way that you will see me in your dreams, like success always says. I promise. So having accountability helps, but also giving yourself. Sorry, guys, just a minute. Yes. So yes. Sorry about that. Yes, have an accountability circle, but beyond having an accountability circle, another thing would be, like I said, right, the program we are set, we have like like a strict accountability system. The other one is you should have, what I say, how do I call it? You should have audacious goals, right? And how do I explain this in the most light way? Um So at the start of this year, I started this thing called 100 audacious goals, right? 100 audacious seeds. It's that I tell myself, okay, I'm going to do XYZ, and I've achieved a couple of them, thank God. But I was only able to achieve a couple of them because I had help. Now, different people have, what I say, depending on your own relationship with God, right? This is one thing that I know has worked for me effectively, and I've spoken to a couple of my friends, it works for them, is that I realized that I wasn't achieving a couple of my goals because I was just being disobedient, right? It was a personal thing, right? And that's one of the things we're going to talk about within the Align You program. It was that I was just being disobedient, is that I knew I needed to do this, but I just wasn't doing them. So what I did was to set up like personal, what I say, weekly sync with God. You know how you say, oh, you're doing devotion, you're doing your morning prayers, or like Muslims, you're doing 5 to 6 prayers a day. So it's that within those times, you tell God, bro, help me, right? And I know it's not a very traditional way that people like or people are aware of, but this is me sharing secrets that I have used to help me achieve as much as I achieve right now. So it's that sometimes I tell God that, okay, if I'm being lazy, feel free to knock me. And it's not literal knock, right? But it's a nudge that I feel in my spirit that, hey, go and work on this. And because I'm trying not to disobey God, it helps me to immediately pick up and do things. So I had to acknowledge that all of the alarm and whatnot is great, but I need spiritual help because a lot of times when you don't achieve tasks, whether you believe it or not, the devil is at work. That's the truth. And because the devil is actively trying to stop you from achieving these things, because if you don't achieve them, then you don't know how many lives are tied to whatever you're supposed to achieve. And you don't know how many families are supposed to sort of like be saved from you executing this task. It's a sense of responsibility that helps you step into that state of, if I don't do this, do I know how many people's lives I'm ruining? And the only person that can help you not ruin people's life is God. Yes, you can have your whole morals and whatnot. So my recommendation is, while you can use all of the productivity tips that everybody shares, set up weekly stand-ups or daily stand-ups with yourself. Pray about it, honestly. And I can tell you it is one of the top proven step to ensuring that you stick to weekly syncs or weekly reviews. I can tell you that try it for 1 week. If it doesn't work, come back and tell me, and I'll give you 100K. I promise. But I promise you, try it, it will work. It's the most proven step that I've seen among myself, around my friends, and I know it will work for you. Ask for help from God, honestly. Tolu, and this 100K that you're eyeing. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. Any other question?
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. Any other question? Drop it in the chat or just someone is asking where's the link for the discount. Robert, I think it's there already. You can click on the link. Robert, yeah, you can click on the link.
Yeah. So Abimbola should be able to get you a discount code. So what we will do is for everyone who attended this session, you get an email with a discount code.
Yeah, so Robert, so currently
the link is discounted. Awesome.
Yes, that link is discounted. Other
Okay.
links you find are not discounted, but this current one is discounted. I just checked. So yeah,
Okay.
you can click on the link, to secure a slot.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for the questions. Back to you, Success.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rachel. That was a very wonderful session. Yeah, I'm glad your question was answered. So I think the only thing that's left to say is that we have a community. It's called BU Tribe. It's where we, come together, have conversations about life and career, productivity, growth, and try to, stuff around accountability, which also have book readings. So you can join the community. I would share the link now. Yes, thank you, Christabel. There's a community you can join. There's a bit.ly link. I'm sharing it now. Yeah. Let me know. Yeah. So yeah, I've shared the link. You can join the community with that link. And yeah, just let me know. You can fill the form. It's an onboarding form so that we get your details and we know how best to tailor the community experience to you. it's a quick form, but yeah, we're collecting your details. So it's a detailed quick form, if that makes sense. Fill it, and then once you fill it, at the end of the form, you get a link to join the WhatsApp community and join other members of the BU tribe. But almost at 100 members. I want to see the other 7 people that will make us 100. So I think we're currently at 93 last time I checked. So you're welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. It was a privilege hosting you all. Yes, I know you got a lot of value, but it was honestly a privilege hosting you all. And Q2 is another chance, but this time do it differently. Apply these tips. Don't just jot things down. We'll share you the recording to this session. If you need to release in, release in. If you need to take new notes, take new notes. If you need to revisit your notes, revisit your notes. I feel like the goal of these things, the real value of this type of sessions is when you are able to apply what you learn. Because if you don't apply it, then what will be the point, So yeah, please make sure that this knowledge does not go to waste. If you don't apply it, it will not work for you. That is the truth. You think it was just another session. No, it wasn't. You were the one that didn't apply it. So please apply it. Thank you. Yes, Masoma. So please apply it for your own good. Q1 has to be the best. People say your life can change in 6 months. Some say it can change in 3 months. You need to lock in. So this is the right way to lock in without burning out. So thank you, Rachel, for sharing. Thank you, everyone. It was really nice, having you all today. Take care of yourselves. See you on the other side. Bye, everyone. Bye. Yes, you would have the recording. It will be sent to your mail. Don't worry. It will be sent to your mail. Don't worry. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Happy New Month in advance. Take care of yourselves. Rest